Mamushi is inside of Konoha. Boruto is racing against a future that's already happened. He's trying to prevent it from taking place. And Sarada Uchiha, the future potential next Hokage, might be kept off of the front line. And some people are outraged, but it's not because she's weak, but instead it's because she is too important to lose. Because while everyone's looking at who's going to get to fight Mamushi directly, the real question that we should be asking is, who's been left behind to protect Ada? In one erased timeline, Mamushi killed Himawari. Then he devoured Ada. And the moment that Ada dies, the future itself collapses. There's no Sharingan. There's nobody who can act as a singularity of fate, able to see the past in the present. Boruto loses a crucial ally on his roadmap to eventually take down Jura. And that's why Sarada might, keyword might, not be charging into the battle with everyone else. That's why she's been left behind to stand guard. Shikamaru told her to stay by Ada, not to go onto the battlefield just yet. Mitsuki is being interrogated, but Daemon is also itching for a fight. Sarada and Daemon just happen to be in Ada's proximity. Sarada being there with the most dangerous toddler in the world is not a coincidence. Join me in today's newest Naruto Explained video where your OBC, your original Boruto chief, is going to be breaking down why the Sarada and Daemon team up is exactly what we need. Also, the chapter drops on the 18th this month, so spoiler watch is in effect. I've already covered the official spoiler that dropped yesterday, which will be linked in the end credits due to it being a late upload yesterday. We did a double upload because of that. The chapter review will drop 2 days after the official release if I don't get full text for the chapter for the editor to work with as a template for the script. We want to maintain the quality of the 2 Blue Vortex chapter reviews. So I want to thank you in advance for your patience and your understanding. We don't care about being first, we just care about maintaining the quality that you've gotten from the other 2 Blue Vortex chapter reviews. So Ada being Mamushi's target and everything taking place inside of Konoha, that's a pretty big deal. Mamushi isn't invading Konoha to wage war. Who really cares about war? Mamushi's hunting. He's hunting some Ada. Mamushi was created from Bug's chakra, and Bug's obsession with Ada, it never died. Instead, it evolved. That obsession is now predatory, it's singular, and it is definitely lethal. Mamushi doesn't want leverage. He doesn't want chaos. Mamushi just wants to devour Ada. And that's what makes this situation fundamentally different from any other invasion that Konoha has faced so far. Because if Mamushi succeeds even once in just one timeline, it gives Jura a hell of an advantage. Boruto loses Ada. Kashin Koji loses Ada. The world loses a singularity of fate. She is adding to the stakes of the story. Those fixed points in time that Ada using that technique for would be able to give valuable intel to add towards being able to change the future into a better future. Her Sharingan's not just a plot convenient ability. It's also the reason why Boruto has that intel in real time to help him alter the future he's trying to prevent. That makes Ada less like a civilian. That makes her more like a keystone that is holding reality together. She's a goddess. That alternate timeline is something that you could definitely say really haunts Boruto when you think about it. Boruto's not guessing what could happen. Instead, he's reacting to what already did. He's trying to prevent it. And that timeline that Kashin Koji knows about. Mamushi killed Himawari in these battles. Mamushi devoured Ada. Ada was confirmed dead. The future, it is now something that became unwinnable because of that. That detail matters because it reframes every decision that Boruto makes from now on. He's not trying to be heroic. He's trying to fix a disaster, one that he caused when he told Kawaki to get his limbs removed, which means the question now becomes, who will be most likely to step in to try to stop Mamushi if he ever reaches Ada? Not who looks the strongest on paper. Really big difference. Mamushi has all these clones acting in diversion. The main body is still out there. And that creates the greatest emotional, tactical, and narrative resistance that we have in the story. That resistance comes in the form of Sarada Uchiha, Sasuke and Sakura's baby girl. And that brings me to why Sarada isn't actually being held back. Instead, it's truly a promotion when you think about it. So at first glance, you might be thinking, hey, they're keeping Sarada away from the battlefield. And you're like, hey, well, it kind of makes sense. You know, she did just get to fight the boss of the last arc, or rather the boss before the boss. That secret boss ended up being Jura, but the main boss was Ryu. And she just reawakened her Mangekyō Sharingan. She proved herself against Ryu, so she's definitely ready. But here's the thing, even though this is a battle shonen and power scaling is very important, this ain't about power scaling per se. It's about role assignment. Sarada's not being sidelined. She's being trusted with a win condition, a vital win condition at that. Because protecting Ada isn't a side mission. It's the entire point of this arc. If Mamushi falls, but Ada ends up dying, nothing truly matters. Boruto loses a huge asset. And Sarada is uniquely positioned to guard her. Not just as a shinobi, but most importantly, as someone who Ada now deeply trusts. And that is very big context. And it is a great full circle moment when you think about it, which brings me to the crux of the video, which is that Sarada and Ada, their relationship, when you think about it, it can be summed up in these next 4 words: from threat to treasure. So this is poetic when you look at it from that scope. Sarada once believed that she might have to fight Ada. Shikamaru gave her that order. Hey, you're gonna have to fight Ada and Daemon. You're the only ones who can kill Ada. She's a threat. She hid her immunity from omnipotence. She tried to keep an emotional distance, but she ended up getting attached. She stayed cautious, but now the truth's out there. They're officially friends. They've made up. Ada does not hate her for hiding the truth, and Sarada is no longer hiding who she is and how she truly feels about Ada. And a shift like that, it truly matters, especially given the context that Ada provided, where, hey, I knew, and if you were the ones who were gonna kill me, I would have been happy. Daemon wouldn't have been happy, but the reason why this shift matters is because in Naruto, shinobi just don't become the strongest when they fight for ideology. If that was the case, then Madara Uchiha would be the strongest shinobi to ever live, and that's not true. If that was the case, if they're fighting for their hard work and etc., Rock Lee would not be somebody who some uncomfortable conversations need to be had about where he actually stands up in the Boruto era right now. Instead, when you look at it, shinobi in Naruto, going all the way back to the first arc, they become the strongest when they fight for someone precious. They become strongest when they have something precious to protect. They become strongest when they have a will of fire or an ideology that they are fighting for. And Sarada protecting Ada, it isn't something you can overlook. It is one of the more emotionally charged sets of motivations that she's had. It's not about revenge. It's not about ambition. It's not about duty. Instead, it is about protecting. That is why you'll hear me forever say, people who skip part 1 of Naruto and just start with Shippuden, they do themselves a disservice. Equally as big of a disservice as the people who skip part 1 of Dragon Ball. And that leads to a lot of knowledge gaps in both fandom. Because things like this, they end up mattering. And that brings me to why the Mangekyō Sharingan still matters here. So a common theme that we've seen is that Sasuke knew just by looking at Sarada's Mangekyō that, hey, this thing is going to be super overpowered. It's going to be an amazing weapon because she has a Chokotomo Mangekyō Sharingan. Those are stronger and more rare than your typical Mangekyō. But it was also Kashin Koji. He didn't just praise Sarada's Mangekyō casually. He does not say things for the sake of just saying it. He is very pragmatic. He called it a valuable tool that was going to be needed for a crucial future battle. That is very deliberate wording. Not a powerful weapon, a powerful tool. Depending on the translation, we're going to go with a powerful tool. But I say to say this. That's something precise. That is something situational. Something necessary for the exact right moment. That right moment wasn't just to take down Ryu. He was alluding to the future as well. It's the first narrative purpose that may not be directly linked to raw destruction. It's something that you could look at with Sarada's character arc and say that it's also linked to denial, interruption, protection, control. That's exactly everything that is happening with Mamushi right now. A Shinju who can observe Ada through the Sharingan itself. Interruption because of what Mamushi's done when he's coming to Konoha. Protection because Sarada is trying to protect Ada, and control. Sarada and Mamushi mixing it up. That's all about control right there. Control over Ada's fate. And that brings me to the more important thing, which is that Mamushi cannot be allowed near Ada again after this. Make no mistake, if Mamushi gets within 5 feet of Ada and Daemon and Sarada are not there, she's going to be killed. Mamushi has already proved something very terrifying. He can see Ada when she uses her Sharingan. That means the information itself becomes dangerous. Every glance into the present when they're trying to spy on the Shinju, it becomes exposure. It's implied that Mamushi might be able to harm Ada because there's that primal instinct she has that she's more than spooked when Mamushi gets into her space. The idea that information is dangerous is something very, very interesting. I've talked about the fact that, again, Ada is a programming language. Ada is a pun on Ada Lovelace, the first computer programming. Bug is a pun on computer bugs, so I'm not going to go over that. But when you understand those puns, all this makes a lot more sense in terms of interactions. But every attempt to help Boruto, it becomes a beacon. If she ever uses Sharingan and Mamushi's still around and she's using it in real time. But once Mamushi's taken down, that's where it gets interesting. That threat, it now disappears. Ada regains full access to the entire present. That means she can track the Shinji movements in real time. She can monitor Jura. She can now be a singularity of fate that is guiding Boruto without fear. That makes protecting Ada until Mamushi falls the most important job for Konoha, but most importantly for Boruto. And that job, it has layers. Plural. And that brings me to why Daemon is the first layer. So you're probably going, but bro, dude, Daemon, that's like so obvious. It was unavoidable. And congratulations, you're right. You're a great prognosticator. You knew exactly what I was going to say before I said it. He is Ada's strongest shield. Ada made a shogi reference. He is her knight. Anyone who attacks her directly, if Ada is touching Daemon, that now becomes a situation where he can reflect those attacks back onto them. But Daemon has limitations. Bug did try to tell Code, hey, this is how you exploit Daemon's weakness. Mamushi's now strong enough to do it. Daemon also has other limitations. He is reactive. He is impulsive. Dare I say it, he might even be a little emotional volatile. And most importantly, he doesn't think like a shinobi, and that is very important. That's why he needs a partner. That is why Daemon and Sarada teaming up is something that does need to happen. And that brings me to why Sarada is that second layer. When you really think about it, Sarada complements Daemon perfectly. Whereas he reacts, she anticipates. She also happens to have a Sharingan eye that has precognition. Where he relaxes on instinct, she is more of the planning type. Where he lacks restraint, she provides judgment. And unlike anyone else in Konoha, Sarada would be able to perfectly coordinate with Daemon without threatening Ada. She's immune to omnipotence. She understands Ada's fear. She has the power to fight alongside Daemon. And she understands Daemon's temperament. Obviously, I'm not counting someone like Boruto. I'm not counting someone like Kawaki. They're elsewhere. But this is the thing that creates something new. A protective formation that no enemy that has been after Ada has truly faced. And taking a step further, there's a bit of poetry with Sarada and Daemon fighting together. And it's really the story coming full circle when you think about it. Sarada once thought, if it comes down to it, I'm going to have to fight Ada and Daemon. Now she's potentially standing beside Daemon. She is protecting Ada. The roles have been reversed. The threat has transformed into a trust. That is peak Naruto storytelling. That is why when you have these dumbasses who say that Boruto does not continue anything from Naruto, I kind of question if they even read Naruto's story and did they read it with their eyes open. Enemies don't just become allies in some cases. Instead, they become reasons to grow stronger. And speaking of growing stronger, there's a huge implication with Sarada, which brings me to that next important point, the Uchiha power and the emotional stakes that it brings. So Sarada is an Uchiha. Her Sharingan, it doesn't just evolve through training. It also evolves through emotion. The yin chakra, which is made up of your emotions and your spirit. Things like fear, love, resolve, the fear of loss, the pain that comes from suffering, the emotions of love, they all power the Kekkei Genkai of an Uchiha. Protecting Sarada, knowing what happens if she fails, that is the perfect catalyst. Not for rage, but instead for clarity, for control, for mastery. This isn't just about Sarada snapping, it's about her standing firm. This matches up very well with all those themes of love that have been surrounding Sarada's character as far back as when Kishimoto was the one writing Sarada. When you go into Naruto chapter 700 and in Naruto chapters 701 through 710, which are known as Naruto Gaiden, the Shin Uchiha arc. And that also brings me to why this sets up Sarada's future role perfectly. This arc isn't just about Mamushi and taking him down. That's a big part of it. But it's also something that when you look at it, it's continued to build indirectly in establishing Sarada as a strategic protector, as a trusted linchpin, someone who truly understands love. That those are all qualities that will make her a future Hokage. She is guarding someone in Ada the same way that she would have to guard her shinobi village. By the time that Jura takes center stage, obviously it'd be Boruto and Kawaki fighting, but don't be shocked if Sarada becomes somebody indispensable. Somebody just like Ada. Somebody that is a key asset to helping Boruto. I want you to picture it. Close your eyes and imagine. Really, no, close your eyes and imagine. Mamushi rampaging through Konoha. Boruto racing the clock. Deep within the village. Ada using her Sharingan freely once more. Daemon standing at the ready. Sarada Uchiha, Sharingan active. Not seeking glory. Not chasing battle. Kiba in the Yamcha pose because he's been taken out because God knows what happened to Kiba. But guarding the one person who ends up being a key linchpin towards Boruto taking down Jura. That person obviously being Ada. Sarada once thought that she had to fight monsters. Instead, Sarada, by standing there with Daemon, by protecting Ada, even if she does not lift a finger to fight Mamushi in this battle, she now has become a wall meant to protect that princess from being harmed. She's become a wall that a monster wasn't able to penetrate. This isn't where Sarada falls. This is where Sarada rises. Sarada being kept from the battlefield is not a limitation I've seen people saying. Instead, it's trust, it's foresight, it's destiny aligning. Because sometimes the most important fight doesn't see everyone throwing punches and kicks. It's the one that ensures that the future exists for all. And if Boruto's gonna save the world, it starts with Sarada being there to help protect Ada from the person trying to take away Ada's future. Obviously, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing, clicking on the left to check out more Naruto Explained videos, or clicking on the right, check out videos from my other two anime channels where I talk about non-Naruto anime and manga.